Don't forget to tune in tonight here on 252 ESPN Radio. Great sports, Washington Nationals baseball. This segment brought to you by New Bern Sporting Goods, 3721 Trent Road in New Bern. All of your athletic equipment need, no matter what sport you play. Plus customized screen printing, embroidery, plaques and trophies, so much more. Stop by New Bern Sporting Goods or visit them on the web, nbsports.net. New Bern Sporting Goods, where you're always in the game.
We got a phone call.
Yay!
Hi, Kyle.
Joining us now, Kyle Gaskins. Kyle, man, great to talk to you. Happy Tuesday, sir.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on, guys. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday.
Are you going to eat your eat your deli sandwich thing while we do that? Because I think that would actually add to the interview. Sam, do you agree?
Yes. We need. What did you get, Kyle? You told us you just picked up a late lunch. What are you eating today?
Picked up a steak and cheese from Mike's Deli in Greenville. So it's absolutely delicious. So I'm not going to eat it because I like to savor every bite and enjoy it. So I'm going to wait till after the segment. But yeah, it's got a nice little steak and cheese from Mike's Deli.
Is it a sandwich that's good enough? I like those sandwiches that are good enough that you actually put the sandwich down while you eat the bite so that you don't have any sort of, like, you can just focus on that sandwich. Is it that good?
It is that good because it incorporates, for especially that particular deli, it incorporates every kind of steak and cheese I really like. It's very cheesy. It has some mayo on it, some lettuce. I mean, just every kind of little thing you can do to a steak and cheese to make it more to my liking. They do it, and that's why I love it.
What kind of bread are we working with? Are we going with just like a regular old like hoagie roll, or they've got something special over there?
A toasted hogie roll, I should say. But it's not the standard. Just you picked up hoagie rolls from the store and you put in the restaurant. It definitely was taking some time to make the bread. If you know what I'm saying. Well,
everybody that is headed to Mike's Deli today to get a sandwich now that they can't get when you get that taste and you're like, oh, I've got to go get one of those right now. Make sure you tell them that the boys on 252 ESPN Radio sent you up there, and we'll have one of our representatives follow up. But yes, man, it is tough. I was telling people, ECU Pirate fan and wanting the Pirate baseball program that has long suffered and not made that trip to Omaha. But, man, I wanted it for you more than anything, Kyle, for you to make that trip. How tough is it, especially – there's not a Pirate baseball fan out there that feels like the Pirates weren't ousted, early. Because, again, when you host a regional, it's kind of expected that you're going to make it to the next round, Kyle, right?
Yes, but this college baseball season and definitely the regionals this year were very weird. Only 8 of the 16 regional hosts advanced to the super regionals, and only 4 of the 8 national seeds actually advanced to the super regionals. And it was a very interesting weekend of college baseball, a lot of upsets everywhere. And for the Greenville Regional, what the Pirates really – how they operate and what they do. They're a very pace team, very pace-oriented, momentum-oriented. And with those rain delays, I just felt like the Pirates could never get into that real big groove starting on Saturday after the rain delays. And when you play in a regional as tough as the Greenville one with South Carolina, and they're a great team, and Wilmington too, my goodness, the Seahawks just never say die attitude in every game they play. That Ohio State game on Sunday was a marathon. So it is tough, but the Pirates this year were not expected to be in the position they were in. They were projected to finish 4th in the American. They got a conference tournament championship under their belt. They were a top 16 seed, able to host, was in the top 25 the majority of the season. Coach Godwin's got a great recruiting class coming in, top 20 in the country with only losing a couple players. So they got a good core coming back, a good core coming in, and fully expect the Pirates to be right back where they were next year as far as regional host and postseason competition.
Now, how's your relationship with Cliff Godwin personally? Has he approached you since the loss and talked to you about your accountability in that?
No, no, I haven't. I haven't talked to Coach Godwin. I haven't seen him since the game on Sunday.
Well,
so no, I don't think it's my fault. But
Wait, because Sam
Yeah,
disagrees.
Kyle, I guess the question I have for you is, Kyle, do you believe in karma?
do I believe in karma?
Do you believe in karma?
No.
Because I remember, and I had a little fun with you on Twitter last night, but last Friday night I was sitting there, just minding my own business, scrolling through. I saw that the NC State Wolfpack dropped a game to Army. I didn't think too much about it because you know where I stand on college baseball as a whole. But going through my Twitter feed, there's Kyle Gaskins poking a little fun at the Wolfpack saying, oh, you just hate to see it, talking about the Wolfpack loss.
You do. You hate to see a team like NC State that's had such a great season lose in the first round to an Army team. Like you thought it was sarcasm. Like you just
Kyle, I know you. I know it was sarcasm. Don't lie to me, Kyle.
There was no sarcasm. I was genuinely upset that Army beat NC State. And when the Wolfpack beat Army that second game, oh, man, I was thrilled for you, Sam. I just hated to see that happen on Friday.
Nice. So
where do we go from here? Like, what is the outlook now for ECU baseball, Kyle? Because
hey, he just told you it's great, man.
Well, yeah, but why? Why though? Why? Toronto Raptors fans also have like a whole lot of hope going into next season, but nobody else really believes it.
They overachieved this year. They weren't supposed to even be where they are. They got a lot of young players on this team that'll be returning. And as Kyle was just talking, great recruiting class coming in.
Yeah, you put all those intangibles together, and I fully expect ECU to be exactly where they are this year, next year, if not maybe a little better. I mean, it's right in front of you. You got the fan support because the atmosphere. I can't talk enough about the atmosphere this weekend. It was a absolute packed house. It was electric, crazy. One of the best venues in college baseball this weekend was put on the national stage. Baseball America did a whole piece on the jungle, and a lot of people kind of opened their eyes to the real baseball-oriented culture in Greenville with the Pirates. So, yeah, I fully expect the Pirates to keep the momentum going next year and to be right where they were this year. And the Pirates really just play a tough schedule this year, and all intents and purposes, I would imagine they play just as tough as one next year. So it's going to be very interesting, and I'm excited for next February for ECU at least.
Atmosphere wins a lot of championships. Kyle, I wanted to get your thoughts on, because Mark made the point yesterday that ECU may oftentimes feel like the stepchild of the North Carolina schools. What are the feelings losing to UNCW, who doesn't even show up on that blip?
I was telling you, it's more like the nephew twice removed by marriage from the ACC schools.
What I would say on that one is the people that don't follow college baseball, they would think that, but for someone like me, I see Wilmington as an equal with East Carolina, NC State, and North Carolina. Wilmington is one of the most they're normally in the NCAA tournament. Coach Scaff's got them to a regional, I believe, 7 of the last 9 years, what I heard over the weekend. Wilmington had their catcher, Ryan Jeffers, picked in the second round of the draft last night. Like, Wilmington is absolutely legit. It wouldn't be like if the Pirates dropped to A&T. And the Pirates took they swept the season series against Wilmington, home and home, and beat them to game 1 of the tournament. So, going 3-1 on the season, it's tough to beat a team 4 times. Going 3-1 on the season against Wilmington, I'm not really too upset about it. And I said once the rain delay hit on Sunday that due to both teams' bullpens and the tax you're going to have to put on them now with a rain delay and you cut your starters short, I thought it'd be a minor miracle for either one of those teams to be able to beat South Carolina. And it sucks with the rain and how the rain really did impact the regional and shift things around. But no, I'm not upset or anything like you lost to a lesser opponent with UNCW. UNCW is right up there with all 4 or all 3 of the other schools.
Do you like the format of the College World Series? Because we were sort of having the conversation yesterday that with it not being a series and the way baseball works, where you never really, it's not as consistent. Like your best player can be batting 280 and being 28% from anything doesn't really equate in any other sport. But when you have a series, and for example in the MLB, when you have a 162 game season, the cream of the crop tends to rise to the surface, and the best team, more often than not, everything returns to the mean and the best team advances. You don't really get that in the College World Series just because of the format, with it being sort of a round robin double elimination. Would you like to see maybe a format change, and do you think that would maybe help with getting more of these top seeds, these regional hosts, all the regional hosts that you're talking about that lost this weekend? Would that maybe provide them more of an opportunity to advance?
I like the 4-team regional format, and I would be a hypocrite if I stood here and saying how you need to appease to the number 1 seed, because I wasn't saying that when ECU went up to Charlottesville and beat Virginia 2 years ago. So what I will say is that one of the glaring things about the NCAA with the regional host is you have to make it a neutral site and as neutral as possible. The one thing I would like to see change is that the number 1 seed in the tournament be home every single game at their home field. I think if you are good enough to host a regional, you should be able to get some sort of advantage in the regional besides just you are playing at the venue that you normally play in, because out of the 4 games UNC Wilmington played in the tournament as the 4 seed, they were the home team in 3 out of the 4 games, whereas out of the 3 games East Carolina played, they were only the home team in 1 of those games. They were the away team against South Carolina and the away team against UNC Wilmington the second time. So it didn't matter in the outcomes of the game, but I would like to see maybe a little more of a home field advantage be implemented by the NCAA to give those regional teams a little more of a benefit to hosting.
Well, if there's one thing that will at least appease the abrupt end to the ECU baseball season, it is the fact that you can turn. And if I'd have told you that at the end of the college baseball season that your Braves would still be in first place, now you just would think I would need to have my head examined. But I know you're thrilled about it. I was talking to a Braves fan last night about it. It's going to be tough because what Sam was just talking about, I think over the long haul, can Atlanta maintain this? We've asked that question a couple of times this year so far. And so far they've been able to hold up, but essentially you would think, this can't last, right? It just talking about overachieving. The Atlanta Braves are overachieving.
They are. And I'm not really thinking, and I've kind of been a little skeptical about how long they can have their success, but I do think the Nationals would overtake Atlanta in the divisional race. But I do think the Braves, as well as the Phillies, are going to have a shot to be there when in October when it comes down to it for a wild card spot. And who knows, they might even be able to still contend for a divisional race. I'm not too sure on that front. But with Atlanta, and like you said, they're in first place in the NL East, and you said you might need you get your head examined. Well, I think the people at the big ESPN offices need to realize it, because tell me how this makes sense in this week's power rankings, Mark. The Nationals moved from 7 to 5 in the power rankings, and the Braves dropped from 5 to 7 in the power rankings. And this week, the Braves took 3 of 4 from the Washington Nationals.
Yeah,
It's Max Scherzer, man. He won the NL Pitcher of the Month.
Yes, that was
It's all
probably
Max Scherzer.
And I have a problem with that because Sean Newcomb had better stats than he did.
Nobody knows who
and
Sean
Ozzie
Newcomb
Albies,
is.
He's a Braves left-handed pitcher.
Yeah.
It's amazing how some companies that produce sports media, they only think that there's 4 teams in the Major League Baseball because
Yankees,
all they have to do the Yankees,
Sox,
the Red Sox, the Nationals, and the Cubs.
Cubs,
Then there are
then the Dodgers.
And all the other and the Dodgers. And all the other teams are the equivalent of whoever the Globetrotters are playing today. They're just, who cares? They're not important, not relevant.
But, Kyle, doesn't that kind of make sense? Like, don't you expect that at the end of this season, those are going to be the 4 or 5 teams that are left standing?
Yes, but they're not even covering the other 25 teams. I definitely think Atlanta, Philadelphia are going to have a shot at the end to say something about that. And it's really, the AL is so much better at the top than the National League, I definitely think like the Phillies and Braves and other teams, the Brewers can have a run here at the end and maybe try to overthrow the perennial powers in Major League Baseball. But the AL playoffs I'm looking forward to because it's going to be very interesting with the Yankees, Red Sox, Astros, teams like that, very phenomenal teams that are at the top of the power rankings. But the NL, you have the Nationals, the Brewers are having a great season, the Braves, Phillies are having a great season, Cubs are starting to kind of figure it out, the Dodgers are just in turmoil, the Diamondbacks are having a decent season. So the NL is wide open, I think, this coming year, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Somewhere, I think Lynn Gaskins is worried that the Washington Capitals will not have the edge in the Stanley Cup trophy. Great lyric. That's still fantastic. Do you see? You were talking about this. I know we're going to run out of time, but you see where if any team is at least has the history to blow a 3-1 lead. I was telling somebody the stat only once since 1939. Has a team blown a 3-1 lead in a Stanley Cup final. But you're saying of all the teams that the Capitals, come on, we can't second guess or just brush away the notion that the Capitals can't blow this.
No, they absolutely can. And, you know, normally with most teams, if it's a 3-1 edge in the Stanley Cup final, the series is over. It's more of an argument. Are you going to clinch on their ice, or are you going to clinch on your home ice? With the Capitals, I mean, there is such a history of them blowing things that you have to keep the door open that, hey, this might actually happen, but I would give it probably maybe a 10% chance up from a normal, 2% chance just because of the Capitals' history. But I really do think it is finally the Caps' year. And as much as I love the cupless Caps joke, I do think they're going to finally capture one. But if they don't, shoe buddy, it's going to be a firestorm on social media, and it's going to be hysterical.
Does it upset you, Kyle, that I watched about the first 15 picks of the MLB draft last night and did not tune in for a second of that hockey game?
Different strokes for different folks. That's
real quick. I gotta ask you this before you leave. If you had to say pick one or the other, if the Washington Capitals win the Stanley Cup, what would be more likely, that the curse is broken and that some other Washington franchise will also win a championship, or that the Capitals could potentially win another championship? What's more likely, that the curse be lifted and another Washington team hoist a trophy in another sport, or the Capitals hoisting another Stanley Cup in the future?
I would honestly say the Capitals hoisting another Stanley Cup, because I don't think the Expos are going to win the World Series anytime soon, and I really don't see the Redskins competing in the NFC East much soon. But I would say the Capitals win another Stanley Cup over those two teams. I don't know how's DC United season this year, Mark?
That's terrible, but they're getting Wayne Rooney.
There you go. I can see an MLS Cup then. How about that?
All right, man, it's great to talk to you as always. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
We'll take a quick break and come back.